Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
The BSN Network proudly presents the W.E.C.P. with your hosts,
Aaron Holiday
and Jerry Flynn, the heels of podcasting.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, it's Aaron. I'm doing a special interview here with my friend, Nat Peterson. Nat, how are you?
Doing well, Aaron. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Every show I've been hyping up, the event coming up on June 30th. Your CSW, this is what, the third show?
Yes.
Yeah, so every episode I hype it up. Every time I'm on the BS Nerd show, I always throw out a shout out to it. So, I really want to make sure this goes well. It's great to have a local show to go to. I don't have to drive to New York. I don't have to drive to Hartford. I can see a local show being on the, southeast corner.
Well, we definitely appreciate the support, and we definitely appreciate being there for everybody, because basically it's kind of like to begin with is making those drives too.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, how did you get into wrestling as a kid? What brought wrestling into it for you?
Well, my dad, my folks are divorced, and I'd go visit my dad every other weekend. And at that point, I thought it was, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. I thought it was legit. And my dad was like, wrestling was coming on. He's like, "Oh, you got to see this. If this is the same episode I saw, this guy gets clobbered with a coconut." And of course, it was Roddy Piper when he got Jimmy Snuka with the coconut.
Yeah, it's great.
And I was sucked in right from there. Piper was such a fantastically hateable heel. He was just so charismatic at the same time that I was hooked right off the bat.
That's awesome.
And I became obsessed, pretty much ever since.
Nice. So, who was your favorite wrestler as a kid growing up? I'm sure we all have characters that eventually we either grow out of it or whatever. But who was so was it Piper that really, started it all for you, or was there another?
Piper at first, for sure.
Yeah, Piper.
Even as a kid, I tended to root for the heels. But the thing about Piper was, even though I rooted for him, he would make me feel bad for whoever he was wrestling or interviewing. Do you know the Frankie Williams interview?
No, I don't know that.
It's sort of a classic and notorious. I believe, I don't know if it was the first Piper's Pit, but it was a very early one. They basically stuck him in there with a jobber named Frankie Williams, stuck a microphone in his hand. There was no storyline that they were trying to push. There was no real preparation for it. They just kind of stuck him with this kind of schlubby guy and said, "Go for it, earn your spot." And he basically just humiliated this guy. He's missing a couple teeth and never won a match and all that jazz. And even though I loved Piper, he was such a jerk to this guy. And of course, he ends up attacking him at the end. And Piper was my favorite, but I felt bad for Frankie, and I got mad at Piper and was pissed at Piper, even though he was my favorite. He was just that good at being a jerk.
Yeah, it's when I was a kid, I always watched and I always thought Mr. Perfect and guys like that I want watching them, how I hated them. And I was like, if they're doing and as a kid you hate them no matter what, you hate them. But retrospect, looking back, that guy did his job, and that's why I think I understand a lot more now, obviously being an adult. But if they get that reaction, they're doing their job.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny you should mention Mr. Perfect, because by the time he came along, I was a little bit older. At his height, Mr. Perfect was my favorite.
Yeah, he was unreal.
Piper kind of, secondary, and frankly was nowhere near as fun as a baby face.
No, that, and he was just, I don't know, Perfect just did more in the ring.
Well, that's what I loved about him is, despite the stereotype, well, not stereotype, but the old adage that cheating is what makes a heel, by very definition, I liked Mr. Perfect because more or less he was a heel that didn't have to cheat and rarely did. And, if he did cheat, he just did it out of spite or malice, not out of necessity. And he was just that good, and he was a jerk about it, and I dug that.
Yeah, no.
I loved that finisher was fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect flex.
Yeah, it was really good. I want to say there's some wrestler on the indies that's trying to make that like their finisher. They're trying to bring that back. I don't know who, I can't remember who it is, but there is someone trying to really push that.
Well, bless their heart, because I wanted to, and when I was training to wrestle, I was kind of talked out of it because, it was 2004 or 5 when I was training, and it was just too ho-hum for that era. So
yeah,
when Benoit and Guerrero are setting the standard, the cradle suplex, fisherman suplex with a bridge is just kind of yawn.
Yeah, it was
most people's standards anyway.
Well, it's kind of like me. I'm a huge Shawn Michaels fan, but everyone does a super kick now.
Oh my God! It's like what they did with the DDT. It's a transitional move now.
Yep.
Well, which is interesting because it was a transitional move to begin with, even when Michaels was using it at first.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it became his big finish, and now it's back to being a transitional move again. Yeah,
because his original finisher when he went as a single star, when he first started doing the whole Heartbreak Kid thing, it wasn't the Sweet Chin Music. I forgot what it was, but it was like not a bridging suplex.
Teardrop suplex. It was something very similar to the angle slam. If it wasn't exactly the angle slam, it was something very close to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, I think
somebody Shawn Michaels' caliber.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of Something to Wrestle, and Bruce Pritchard, I think he gave it either him and he talks about how like him and what's his name, who's in charge with him and Pritchard were had the ear of Vince back then. It was just the two of them. Oh God.
Pat Patterson?
Yes. I think Pat Patterson, basically, him and Pat Patterson were just like, they saw how well he did the Sweet Chin, you did the super kick, and they're like, just do that. Like, it just, it fits you better. Just do it.
Well, it's just, not only does it fit better, it's got such impact. It comes out of nowhere, and it makes a nice smack.
Yep.
And it just, the crowd always pops for it, whereas not so much with the teardrop. So
yeah, especially with the old adage of what Stone Cold always said with the stunner is, I can do it to anybody.
Exactly. You don't have to pick them up.
Yes.
I think the Undertaker was kind of learning. I think they were learning through the Undertaker. It's like you got to have a more. You got to have a move that you can do on more people.
Yeah.
Something more versatile.
Yeah. Especially when you get the guys that are just so big.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They kept putting Undertaker in there with King Kong Bundy or Giant Gonzalez. It's like, you're not putting any of those guys in the Tombstone. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Vader, that would be tough.
With Vader, Vader could have done it.
Yeah, I just think it would be hard.
It would be unrealistic.
Yeah. It wouldn't look pretty.
No. But he's nimble enough that he could have gotten it done, I think.
Yeah.
But he was also smart enough to probably say, you're not doing that to me.
Yeah.
It'll look stupid.
Yeah. So how did you actually get into the world? Like, how did you get into actually wrestling?
Well, I was training to wrestle. A friend of mine, Seth Holmes, who I knew from Rocky Horror way back in the day, he used to manage, like, I don't know, it's like in the early 90s, I want to say, or something. I'm not sure. Well before I was ever involved. And he just kind of knew this guy, Kyle Storm, who, and he just kind of hooked us up, and I started training with him. And
where was that at?
That was in North Providence, Rhode Island, at the Squared Circle Academy, which no longer exists.
Oh, wow.
Yes. was training out of a storefront that used to be a cigar shop. Yeah, we were right next door to a bakery that was none too happy to hear all the noise next door.
Oh, I'm sure.
Trouble for us, if memory serves.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when you listen to Jericho talk about when he went to the Heart Academy, and it's basically they used part of a old bowling alley, like a back part of a bowling alley. That's just, and he's like, yeah, and the walls were pink. You know, he goes, you just make do with what you got, I guess.
Absolutely. You know, you can only do what you can afford, you know? So, I mean, you know, the storefront worked. You know, it had a basement with lockers for some reason, so we had a locker room all set up. And,
nice.
You know, there was room for a ring, and we made all these alterations. In fact, I remember we wanted to put a hole in a certain wall, and we ended up actually gimmicking the wall so that somebody could get speared through it.
Oh, wow.
Because we wanted to get rid of that wall anyway. So they kind of took it apart from the back, and got a hell of a reaction from the crowd that day. Because we used to do, you know, our local shows there too. We didn't even charge for them because the capacity was so small.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, our weekly televised show, I believe it was weekly.
Nice.
Guy got speared right through it. So
cool.
But
so
anyway, I'm babbling.
No, it's all right. What was your wrestling name?
Well, originally I was Mr. Nice Nat Turner.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Who came up with that?
That would be Matthew West, and I'll never forgive him for it. No, one of my trainers, Matt Storm, Matthew West, who is pretty much my right-hand man in doing these shows, and he's been my guiding light and basically invaluable to me in setting these shows up, making connections for me, people, and giving me very, very, very sound advice. I could not do these shows without him.
Cool. I think I've probably met him. I just don't know. I'd probably recognize him.
Taller than me, a little heavy set, beard.
Yeah. No, I've met him at the shows. Yeah, I've met him at the shows.
Good. Super decent guy. But somebody, I wrestled my first match just as Nat Peterson or whatever, and somebody covering it for a web page or fanzine or something was like, oh, what was the name of that guy who lost at the beginning? Nice something or other. And it's like, oh no, it was Nat Peterson, but he heard nice, and I became the smiling baby face who wore a happy face on his shirt. And my big deal was, my shtick was, I would try to get the heels to shake my hand, and they never would. And it was always I never won a match, but it was practically a victory just getting them to shake my hand. You know, I'd hit him with a move and grab their damn hand and be like, all right, damn it, you're shaking my hand now. And it was actually a pretty cool gimmick, but I wasn't confident enough to pull it off. And I wasn't comfortable with it, so it didn't come off well.
I was going to say, it's not so much, kind of how especially when I, meeting you and talking to you, you're very, like, not to say you're a metalhead, but you definitely have more of I could picture you more in a band shirt than a smiling t-shirt.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was, you're definitely right. I definitely had more a rock and roll look. We kind of they tried to get me to do sort of a Rock and Roll Express kind of deal too, because I had the long hair, so I'd like do this wholesome, goofy baby face. But my favorite era, Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be an arrogant, foolish heel. But to be the heel, you gotta. You have to be very confident and very. You basically have to show the promoters and trainers that you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
To get to be a heel, and I wasn't very good as a wrestler in general, just because I had clinical ADD that wasn't being treated at the time. So somebody puts me in a headlock, and it's like, okay, international duck, leapfrog, clothesline, go, and they push me off, and you could see the wheels turning, and I'd get that what they call the deer in the headlights look as I'm trying to sort out in my mind what the hell I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Ditto for going over a match ahead of time. I would just kind of, I wasn't very good at memorizing. And so I was not always very comfortable.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably why I've always wanted to be or at least try my hand at wrestling. I don't want to say I ever thought I could be anything in the business, but that was always my worry. I understand things. I can do something. You give me the same thing to do over and over again, I can do it. Give me 15 different things one after another, and you can't stop. I'd probably get lost eventually. I'd get the deer in the headlights, as you said.
Well, that was the thing. Is I was the same as what you just said. I was good at individual things. Stringing it together was my problem, but because I worked so hard, they kept, they kind of felt bad for me and gave me a lot of chances and stuff. And ironically, they gave me way more chances than what was warranted. So definitely, I give them a heck of a lot of credit for that. But ironically, just as I felt I was turning a corner and getting a little more comfortable, is when I'd run out of chances.
No.
So it's just and I don't blame them for that at all, because I was getting to work with names and stuff, and I'd already been doing a lot of cool stuff. I'd been in main events.
Wow, that's cool.
Never as a credible threat, mind you, but I was getting time, and it's all. Anybody in the actual business will tell you it's not the wins, it's not the losses, it's the time.
Yeah.
In front of the crowd, and I've been given a ton of opportunities, so it's just my rotten luck that I was finally coming around long after any reasonable person would have given up on me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you ask Lanny Poffo, he'll talk about it. How he's like, people ask me all the time, do you regret any of the stuff that you did? And he's like, got to work with Hulk Hogan. How many people can say that? When you get a chance to go and do something even for me to get in the ring, period, would be a dream come true. So I'm sure for you were like, I'm playing with house money here, and they're giving me a chance to keep going. That's pretty cool.
It was pretty. I wasn't smart enough to appreciate it that way at the time.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't think, well, what the hell is their problem? Why aren't I getting wins, and why aren't I this and that? I was just more insecure with wanting to be better and feeling like I felt like I was worse than I was at times, and I don't know. I wish. I would love to have had a chance to try it while being treated for ADD and being on Adderall, which I am now.
Oh.
I'd love to try that.
Well,
but I'm also a little old for it now. So.
Yeah, you say that, but I've been to a couple shows and I've seen was it Rob Zombie?
Ron Zombie.
Ron Zombie.
Yeah.
He doesn't. You're in much better shape than he is to look at. I'm not saying he doesn't have probably. People said that about Dusty. I get it, but he.
Well, I will respectfully bet on Ron Zombie. He's a hell of a guy, a hell of a worker, and he's got a hell of a following too. And to me, he looks like a grizzled rock and roll son of a gun.
Yeah, no. He's got the look.
I don't think he looks dumpy or anything.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
He's got a look that suits him, I think, and he still does his thing very well.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about I go with a friend to a lot of shows, and the first thing out of his mouth is, "Why is he even still wrestling?" And I'm like, it's the same reason why there's a lot of other guys that still wrestle. I was like, he's local, he's been doing it for forever, and he doesn't mind doing whatever they need him to do. He's willing to bust his ass, and he's still getting in there, man. As much as it doesn't look like I'm sure it did 20 years ago, he still can move.
He puts asses in seats, and he can still go, brother, as they say.
Yeah.
As kind of channeling my inner Scott Hall there.
Yeah.
But, that's what it's about, man. There's one thing, to get on my soapbox here, that a lot of so-called, your typical smart mark fan, a lot of them don't get that wrestling is not a meritocracy. and it is not about who's the best athlete and who has the best quote-unquote move set, and it never, ever has been.
Yep.
Wrestling is about who puts butts in seats and who can be trusted to do a good job consistently by a promoter's standard.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
You know, I mean, Dean Malenko, you know, if wrestling was a meritocracy, Dean Malenko would have been world champion.
Yep. Rey Mysterio would have been much more famous than he was before he got to the WWE.
Right. And to me, there's always been sort of a people who take it so seriously that they want it to be more real than it is. I mean, they only want the guys who quote-unquote deserve it because they got the better moveset, they got the better work rate, and this and that. It's like basically so you want it not to be a work anymore because you're wanting it to be based on merit, which would make it a real sport, even if it was a performance sport like, you know, figure skating or something. Once you start rewarding people based on merit, it ceases to be a work.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're trying to be a smart mark, but then claim that you want it to be as real as possible, it's like you're working yourself. You know, it's like you're wanting it. It's just like you're so smart that you're a mark again, and then it's like you've laughed yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I catch myself because if I was gonna go purely on there's a lot of guys I watch and I'm like, man, this guy just needs to get they should use this guy. There's certain guys you just, for whatever reason, you fall in love with and you think that guy deserves a bigger push than somebody else.
Right, certainly.
But at the same time, I look at it and I go, oh, well, Braun Strowman should get the biggest push. He's this massive guy and he's just, and then I'm like, but at the same time, I don't like anything that Brock Lesnar does. I can respect him as an individual, like what he does, but I don't really like his character. I don't really like him. And that contradicts itself. I'm like, no, he's a big monster.
Right, but I mean, and that's why there's nothing to me wrong with just liking who you like for whatever reason it is. But
Yep.
once you start trying to attach some sort of merit to it, like if you're just sick of looking at Brock Lesnar, you're sick of looking at Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yep.
when you start to talk about whether he does or does not deserve it,
Yeah.
not you specifically, but when somebody does, it's just like you probably don't understand the business.
Yeah.
If you're saying he doesn't deserve it, at least certainly not as much as you would fancy yourself to. You know, again, not you specifically, but
No, I catch myself on the show every time anytime his name comes up, CM Punk. I don't see any use in him. I don't like him. Nothing he's ever done is blown me away, and that's just what it is. But a lot of people say the same thing about Samoa Joe, and I like him. So I get it. I'm not wrong. It's just I have a different taste in who I like.
different strokes. I mean, I missed the boat completely on him because I stopped watching wrestling or WWE for a good, probably a decade.
Yep.
You know, I'm no Puritan by any means, but once they started with the Katie Vick stuff and things got kind of rapey and stuff, I was never really huge on the sexism in the WWE in that era.
Yep.
And it just got so tasteless and so far removed from what about the business, right down to the style of the announcing that I gave it up, despite being obsessed with it all my life. So I missed out on CM Punk. So to hear the way he is practically worshipped as a sacred cow by a certain segment of the smart mark population, I kind of, it's like he must have been pretty good. But my first impression of him is, when I got back into wrestling and I hear all these people talking about him, I kind of researched him, okay, what's the big deal with this dude? And one of the first things I did was I made the mistake of listening to a podcast. I want to say maybe it was Jericho's, but I'm not sure, where he talks about how the reason he left the WWE is because he wasn't booked for the main event of WrestleMania, and he thought he should have.
It's the infamous podcast that he did with Colt Cabana that they actually just finished his court case this week.
I don't think it was that one, because I don't know if I would have had the patience for that one. But it was something else where, I'm aware of that podcast.
Yep.
And
he broke it into two parts.
I was listening to. It doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
Point point being, that was my first impression of him. It was just like he took his ball and went home because they didn't use him the way he wanted to be used.
Yeah.
Which to me, it's like, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who came out of the UWF as this ass-kicking, hard-ass, people loved him back, down south.
I did. I loved him.
And, yeah, like, before the WWF, I mean.
Yeah.
He was way different. I mean, he was legit. Then he becomes this, like, kind of cartoony goof in the WWF who was making way more money.
Oh, yeah.
But, he didn't get all like, well, what the hell? I should be main eventing by now. It's like, you know what? It's not a meritocracy.
Nope.
And this entire business is at the whim of practically one man, especially in those days.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know what he was expecting.
Well, I think he's very similar to, like, how I view Bret Hart. Differently, because I think I have more respect for Bret Hart than I do CM Punk, but that's a whole nother thing. But I think a lot of people forget that they kind of don't look at him the same, but I think that's the same. Like, you felt like you were told one thing by Vince, and then he did another.
But, I mean, I'd heard that.
Yep.
Again, wasn't really keeping track too closely. But it's like he made it he was already, how many world title reigns did he have?
I think it was at least, I don't know. I don't know because I hated him, and every time I saw him on TV, I would turn off the TV. But I think he...
we'll make it a rhetorical question. The point is more than one, I think, right?
Oh, yeah, no, it was definitely more than one.
His profession.
And he had I think, one of the, like, in the more modern era, he had one of the longest runs.
Right, so it's just like, maybe, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but we all know, like, Vince changes his mind on stuff, especially if you listen to the, Something to Wrestle With podcast.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes he just changes his mind, it's not so much treachery.
Yeah.
It's just like he'll get inspired to do something else. So
yeah.
He does it, and it's just like, but even if, giving Punk the benefit of the doubt, even if Vince had just bald-faced lied,
yep.
It's like you already got way more out of this business than anybody could dream of.
Yeah.
Especially in this era where they're the only show
yep.
in town.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you've been blessed, dude. I was like, to me, it always came off as a bit on the ungrateful side. And it's just like, people complain that the WWF has always been stupid and Vince likes muscle guys and this and that. And it's like, so if it's always been like this, and you know that Vince likes his muscle guys, why are you acting surprised and or disappointed that CM Punk is not still your world champion? If you knew that it was this way to be, why are you expecting Vince and the WWF to be something that it is not and never was?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's like he that's attitude to me, again, is like marking, being such a smart mark that you become a mark again.
Yep.
It's like you're pretending it's real.
Yeah.
And
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's just like, so I don't know. I mean, he could be a great, great guy for all I know. I'm sure his matches are brilliant. But that was my first impression of him.
Yep.
And I can't shake that, especially when people start chanting his name rather during matches, which I hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, shut up and mark out. Enjoy the show. Stop trying to impress everybody with how smart you are. And it's just like, I'll put it this way. You ever listen to, before Flair was doing his own podcast, but when he'd do a shoot interview and somebody would try to get a little too insidery with him and use like certain phrases, like there's a famous clip of him like kind of going off on a dude for using the word kayfabe.
Yep.
It's like, wrestlers aren't impressed by fans that are smart. Most of them. I mean, some of them appreciate being appreciated that way, but by and large, they're working their asses off to tell a story.
Yep.
Dean Ambrose, a darling of many an internet fan, he doesn't go out there going, well, I hope people... They want to be appreciated on that level. They don't want some dude in a Bullet Club t-shirt to say, wow, I really appreciate your work rate. You know, because it doesn't mean anything coming from them. It's like, if they've busted their ass all their lives, gone through the indies, gone through, in his case, you know, Florida Championship Wrestling to NXT, all the way up to WWE, and he's got the approval of Vince, Triple H, and whoever else. You know, the approval of the dude in the Bullet Club shirt isn't going to mean anything to him, because he's already got the praise and approval of the people who make this business work.
Yep.
He just wants you to enjoy the story he's telling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
like, I wish more people realized that and kind of got that.
Yeah, no,
that's why Ric Flair will get ticked off. Is like, you know, don't try to talk to me like you're on my level, because you're not. You know, and it's like he's kind of a jerk about it, mind you, and like, I don't think people should be jerks, but I can understand why the frustration, because it's just like, don't talk to me like you understand this business as well as I do.
True. Yeah.
You know,
no.
He's very ungracious in the way he handled it, but at the end of the day, the interviewer was still kind of in the wrong. It's like there's another, there's some podcast that like they had Kane on, where Kane called him in to do an interview, and they're like, "Oh, is this Kane or is this Isaac Yankem?" Ha ha ha. And he's like, "You know what? I'll talk to you guys later."
Yeah. I heard he did that recently.
And again, kind of ungracious, but it's just like, you're not going to impress him by busting his ass that way. You know,
no,
he's not going to go, "Oh, good one, guys." You know, because he's number one. He's heard it a million times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And number two, it's just like, he lived it. He knows it was dumb. You know, he's not going to want to talk about it. That's not why he's on there, because he wants to promote the show and promote what he's up to, not to get heckled by dudes who think they know what's up.
Yeah, well,
anyway,
no.
Really pissing off. The opinions of Nat Peterson are not the opinions of Constitution State Wrestling.
No, but I'll say this: like everyone that I've met that works your shows are very gracious afterwards, and a couple of the individuals that are heels, I have gone up to and made sure I let them know that I hate them. But
that's what a heel wants to hear.
Yes, but for the right reasons. I understand why I hate them, and that's what they're there for. So I think that's what you're saying is they just want you to acknowledge that they're doing what they're supposed to.
Right. I mean, that's funny. I'll go to shows with my girlfriend, like a WWE show.
Yeah.
And somebody will come out that I love, but I'll boo him, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you liked that guy." Like, yeah, I know, but he's a heel.
It's your job.
It's like,
that's what you're supposed to do.
I'm undermining him. I'm undermining the hard work he does if I cheer him while he's trying to heal.
Yes.
So it's like, but I spent, by the same token, all the years I was a legit mark, I would just cheer the heels anyway. So it's like, now I'm working myself.
Yeah. Well, it's like when we went to the last show, at our table, we were making sure, like, when there was a heel doing something heelish, like when Rich Bass hit BUFFDAD with the clipboard, we popped so huge and we were booing so loud because, that's what you're supposed to do, and it was amazing, and it gets you into it and makes you for a moment just get into it. Just buy into it and just be there and not worry about anything else that you're supposed to be worrying about.
Right, and that's the whole. And I know this genie is not going back in the bottle, but if I had one wish when it comes to this business, it's just like, I just wish people would mark out again.
Yeah.
And I know at indie shows they tend to do that. You usually get your wise ass section that that tries to heckle on everything else, which is fine. I used to be that guy, so it's like, I get it. But it's just like, I could never go to a Full Sail show. I've never been in a fist fight in my adult life, but I'd get beat up if I went to a Full Sail show, because I could not keep my mouth shut long enough. It's like, trying to watch this match, I don't care if you think they deserve it or whether you think this is awesome.
Yeah, I don't like
whatever.
that. Yeah,
it's like, they know.
Yeah.
Like Triple H or William Regal, Steve Regal, what the hell, Norman
Yep.
They've got their approval. They don't want your approval. They don't want your critical approval. They want you to boo or cheer them. That's all they want, and it's what,
Yep. No,
it's a better gauge for them to let them know how they're doing, because it's developmental, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So it's but, everybody wants to get themselves over instead, and, that's why I would never last in that atmosphere.
Yeah, so what I was going to ask you is, so then how did you get into promoting? Knowing all this, and like you said, the genie's out of the bottle, and you did the wrestling, you tried it, it didn't work out for you. Did you take a bunch of time off, from wrestling once you were done wrestling yourself, and kind of all right, I'm going to take some time off from this. I need to take a breather?
Well, back when I was training, I was working a retail job. I worked retail jobs most of my life. I was technically living below the poverty line for most of my life. So a lot of it, everybody's an armchair booker, right? Everybody who's a smart mark and who's a grown adult who still loves wrestling. Everybody's an armchair booker. Everybody has a way that they would rather do it. And I always had, those pipe dreams, back in the mid to late 90s, what would I do if I had a show, But I had so much inspiration and so many ideas that I was pretty sure that I could pull it off. And then once I came to learn the business from the performing aspect of it, I was that much smarter to it and still felt that I could do it. And, once I realized that the performance aspect wasn't for me, or that I couldn't do it at the time, the reason I quit was actually more because of practical reasons, because my job wasn't giving me enough time off.
Yeah.
That's what made me have to quit, unfortunately. So I was too busy trying to make ends meet for a long time. Finally, I got, in the last 5 or 6 years, I kind of got a grown-up job, especially now that I'm on Adderall, I can handle a grown-up job. So if anybody feels that they might have a learning disability, if they've ever suspected in the back of your mind and it's never been checked or you've never been tested for it, by all means, do what you can to get tested. It might turn your life around.
Yep.
I'd still be living out of a boarding house probably if I hadn't been. But anyway, long story short,
I have ADD as well.
Gotcha. So you know what's up. How, if you don't mind me asking, of course, this isn't really the focus of the show. I'm sure.
No, it's okay.
You didn't necessarily want to get out and talk about this. When did you know you had it? When were you treated for it?
When I was a kid, I think what made the mess of the whole situation was my parents were divorcing, and I wasn't learning. And I still to this day, I don't spell very well. I think I get very overwhelmed when I sit down. I get very frustrated very easily. And I start thinking of the word ahead of it. And I misspell a lot of things. And I cross out a lot. I have to write over myself a lot. I think probably around, 7 or 8 is when they kind of diagnosed me with it. They gave me, forgot what they gave me to do. They gave me that because they thought that I was depressed and I had a learning disability, so we'll put them in special ed and we'll give them this medication, and all it did was make me fatter and watch more TV. So, it didn't really help, but I think there's certain things now that I'm gonna start, looking into myself. But they're, like you said, it also takes a long time to just start figuring stuff out. It's really hard.
Well, that was the thing, is when I was growing up and when I was in high school, even back in, I graduated in 94, they didn't, ADD wasn't as well understood as it is now.
Yeah.
So you take somebody like me, I had long hair, I didn't have any behavioral problems, and I was a fairly articulate speaker, and I did pretty good in English. So I think, what I always used to hear time and time again was that I wasn't applying myself. Even when I would, my chemistry class, I should have flunked that but she gave me a D- out of sheer sympathy because I was going for tutoring.
Yeah.
Still flunking. Like, there's nothing worse than trying your hardest and failing. And it's like teachers could see that I was trying, but I was still failing. And I guess the understanding of ADD wasn't such that they figured, hey, someone test this guy for a learning disability. I think they just saw the ponytail and they didn't understand that, back then what was going on. So, I mean, God, I don't know if they ever put you on Adderall.
No. I've always had friends ask me if I should, would you ever like to try it? I'm like, maybe. Like, I just said, I said, I already have a lot of OCD stuff about my house. Like, it bothers me that I don't have my laundry folded yet. So it's like, I gotta go do that and fold it. And my mom will try to fold my laundry if I go over to her house to do like a load of laundry when I'm over there to help her out with her yard or something. And she'll start folding it. I'm like, put it down. You're not going to fold it right. I'm going to have to refold it when I get home. Just put it down.
I mean, I would, if possible.
Yep.
I would try getting treated. I don't know how it relates to OCD.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a difference for me between having to work in a supermarket for the rest of my life or having an office job or being able to be a supervisor or living hand to mouth for the rest of my life versus getting to do wrestling shows. And this is a very roundabout way of saying I finally got into a place in my life where I get a good enough job, and B, get a roof over my head that was consistent enough that I could start saving money, and C, get my credit up enough that I had ruined so that I could take out a loan and do my first show.
Wow.
Is, I guess, the 10, 15 minutes later to answer your question.
No, it's all right.
Got into the promoting end of it.
It's the story that gets you there.
Well, that's a nice way of putting it. Or I just digressed and basically made off with your show.
No, it's all right. I get that.
Hijacked the thread, if you will.
No. It's okay. I get off on those tangents. And I start talking about something that happened on this TV show, and you remember this guy, and it's like, Aaron, what were you trying to get through? And I was like, yeah, this guy. That's what I was trying to get through. And they're like, it's about
okay,
8 who.
Do you do the thing where
Go ahead.
you feel like you have to interrupt somebody, like I just did to you?
Yeah, sometimes.
So you
sometimes.
don't forget. You can't sit on the spot for too long or you forget it. So it's like you're practically champing at the bit, waiting to say something.
Yep.
Just because you don't want to forget it.
Always.
So, yeah, I mean, I would, if you don't mind me saying so, man, look into it.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to look into it. Yeah, no, it's okay. I'll definitely look into it.
So that's how I got into wrestling. Yeah,
nice. How'd you come up with the name CSW? Like, was there, and not to like, be too, but I met is it your grandmother, correct?
Yes.
She's an adorable lady. Did she help you come up with the name? Did you come up with it your girlfriend? Was it your buddies? Like, how did that come about?
As a fan, from a fan's point of view, I always enjoyed the names that sounded more like it was a real sport. Like a real, like a regional, like if there was some sort of governing body for professional wrestling, like there's a National Hockey League or, what have you, or the National Wrestling Alliance, if you will. Like, I like the idea of a Mid-Atlantic or, some regionally named to show that, like, okay, this is like, are you a hockey fan, for example?
Yes.
Like, okay, so this is the Adams Division. This is the Northeast Division.
Yeah.
I liked that. It made it seem more sport-like.
Yeah.
And more legitimate. And so I believe there was already a Connecticut Championship Wrestling or something like that. There have been so many variations. I was pretty sure that nobody had used Constitution State. And plus it had a kind of cool name. It kind of gave it a little bit of flavor.
Yeah.
Where you kind of get like almost a colonial feel or what have you.
And it's on our license plates.
What's that? Yeah.
Isn't it the Constitution State?
Yeah. So like it seems more official. Like, some people, like, there's chaotic or anarchic or what have you, or defiant, and like, which is cool for them, just not my bag. So it's like I wanted something that sounded like a real sporting company. and or like it was like part of some larger governing body.
Nice.
So yeah, that's just the basic logic of it. And what's funny is there was a guy who ran a show in Groton not too long before my first show, and like I don't remember what the name of his company was, but his champion was the Constitution State Champion, and ever since I think he thought I copied him.
Oh wow.
So it's like and he even contacted me.
Oh
like,
no.
Once he found out that's what I was like, well, I've got the Constitution State Champion if you want to use him. And I think he thinks I stole the idea from him. So if he's listening, I didn't, and I'm sorry. But I also am not going to change the name at this point.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Yeah, I mean, best of luck to him and everything. But
I love the logo, by the way.
What's funny is I designed the logo, but I do not have a steady hand, and I got Dave Cole.
Oh yeah.
I gave him a crappy sketch I had done. I was like, do me a favor, if can I commission you to basically execute this goofy idea I have? It's like I don't have the skill. It's like I have the skill to conceive it, but I don't have the skill to execute it. Can you execute it for me? And he nailed it on the first try, pretty much. And so the dastardly Dave Cole is the guy who executed and is responsible for the CSW logo.
Nice. He does a lot of cool custom Funkos.
Yes, he does. And then a lot of great custom. I've got a couple of his. Matter of fact, I'm looking at his Mil Muertes print right now that I have in my living room.
Oh wow.
Yes. But what's funny is, speaking of Connecticut-centric references, I also kind of, in designing it, I wanted to sort of imitate the general shape of the Hartford Whalers logo.
Nice.
So if you look at it with the W on the bottom and the wings on the top.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
That was by design, but, on my part. I wanted to, just for my own satisfaction.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, like you were saying, like, I am a hockey fan. It is one of those things, like, I have Whalers stuff, but there's no Whalers team. Like, Connecticut still holds on to that. Like, we all still I remember going to Whalers games with my dad. I went to the last game. I remember getting a puck. Like, I was there when I was a kid.
Like purchasing a puck, or like did one go in the stands?
Went into the stands and nobody picked it up, and I walked over and picked it up. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's wow.
I don't have it anymore. I wish I did. I'm not gonna lie. If I still had it, that would be a mantelpiece.
From the very last Whalers game? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm drooling at that idea.
Yeah. I had it for the longest time as a kid, but I never played hockey because my parents, that just wasn't an option, and there wasn't a lot of...
very expensive sport to get into.
Yeah, so I that wasn't really an option for me, so I kind of... That probably got sold at a yard sale for like $1.
Oh, see, I did that with my action figures like a dummy.
Oh, man, I'm still buying...
I kept on to it. Like, my mother made sure I kept on all my Star Wars toys. She's like, you hang on to those. Those will be worth something someday.
Oh, wow, so you have a lot of your...
I had, like, the Kenner Superpowers figures. I sold for like 25 cents each.
Oh...
I mean, like, I love those. Like, I wish I still had them now just to have, not for the value of them, but just because they're so darn cool.
Yeah.
So many great toys I sold and for money to buy, like, Kiss T-shirts and backpacks and stuff when I was in middle school,
Yeah.
Like, I outgrew it, so it's like, kicked myself.
Well, I had the original, like, you remember the original Hasbro wrestling figures?
Yes.
I had the ring, and I had it, and I kept it with me, like, until I was probably way too old to have it. At, like, I was probably 15 years old, still had it. Like, I didn't play with it, but I had it. I think my mom just gave it away or threw it away.
Oh.
And I'm like...
I did the same thing with my Paul Stanley doll. I had a Paul Stanley doll that I got for my 5th birthday that was, like, packed away, and, like, when I got into Kiss as a 12-year-old, like, when everybody gets into Kiss, if they're going to at all, like, I dug in this closet and pulled it out, and I didn't play with it, but, like, it became, like, the center of my nerd shrine.
Nice.
And, like, I had this whole, like, I had this big Kiss poster and this tapestry and, like, all this other knickknacks and stuff, and I set everything up in a very Sgt. Pepper-esque sort of, like, aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, nerd shrine, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the center of it. It was like a little Buddha or something, you know? And that's another one I'm looking over at right now. I got that in like 1980 or something.
Wow.
And that's one thing I did hold on to, standing right next to my Michael Jackson doll as well.
Yeah, I still have my original Hasbro Ultimate Warrior and Big Boss Man. I still also have my Tonka Wrestling Buddies, Big Boss Man, $1 Million Man, and Ultimate Warrior.
I did not know those were Tonka.
Yeah, Tonka made
I'm
those.
I'm a bit of a, you know, kind of a yellow belt level toy nerd, so I did not know that. Very cool.
Yeah, and Jack's Pacific is trying to
Hasbro
make the new ones.
I was like too old. Like I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like I was a freshman in high school, I believe, when those first started to come out. So it's like I couldn't justify buying them for myself, but I had 7 years younger and was only kind of into wrestling. But I made sure that for every Christmas or birthday or whatever, it was like, you know, the bowling ball that says Homer on it, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Kind of wanted it for myself, but I got it for my sister instead.
Nice.
Who kind of liked wrestling.
Nice. Your sister's still into wrestling?
No.
No.
Emphatically not. Like I said, she was barely into it. You know, she was kind of into it by osmosis. Just because she had to watch it when it was on in the house anyway, because I was watching it.
Nice.
So, you know, she knew the characters and stuff, and we went to the house show once, and you know, she got into it while she was there, but you know, once I was out of the house, she wasn't going to watch it again.
Yeah. Does she still like? Did she come to any of the shows yet?
No, she lives out in Ohio.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that gives her an excuse.
It does. No, but what's funny is she every time I post something, she reposts it, even though she lives in Ohio and doesn't really have a lot of friends in Groton anymore that would go to the show. She, bless her heart, she still reposts every single time.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Nessa, if you're listening.
So I want to ask, how did you get James Ellsworth? I know there's a little bit of a story to that.
There is. This is very, very, almost more inside than I would be comfortable going, but what the hell.
I mean, you don't have to give up exact names, but you can say, you know.
No, it's fine. I knew that Bob Evans, who also kind of helped train me when I wasn't training at Squared Circle Academy. So I've known him, you know, since 05-ish probably.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to use him on the show. I knew he was looking to do a tag team. You know, he's enjoying what he's doing in Tough Guy Inc. So I kind of asked him. I was like, "Hey, who would you like to work with?" You know, and eventually he came up with these guys, Matt Wild and Sickened. They're Riot City's Most Wanted. We're very good. When I say chain wrestling, it's not traditional chain wrestling, but they're really big on the combo moves and like, you know, throw a guy in the corner, and then one guy does the drop kick, then the other guy does the drop kick, and then you know, like bang, you know,
old school tag team,
but more modern. Like that's what.
Yeah, no, but like
not like the Revival or something, but like chains of moves together. Really
that's cool.
Interesting. So anyway, they're from Maryland. And so they're going to be driving up anyway. And they wrestled with James Ellsworth in his company and stuff.
Nice.
And he had a gig elsewhere, but they got canceled. So he asked them. He's like, "Hey, do you know any? Are you working on the 30th? If so, where? And do you think they'd want me? Blah blah blah. Or you know, are they looking for someone?" So they went to Bob, who went to me. And it's what's funny, I got up on a Saturday morning, I'm drinking my coffee, you know, kind of half awake, and he starts this group message with me, and in group messages on Facebook, it just gives you the first names, so it's like Bob, James, and me. And he's like, "Hey, Nat, this is James, he's looking for a gig on the 30th, and I figured you might be interested, and yeah, like, talk it out if you want, and I'm out." So he leaves the group. And so I kind of, in bringing the cursor over to type what I was going to type, when the cursor hovers over the name, it goes from James to James Ellsworth. I'm like, you know? So I'm like, hey, how you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And you know, basically kind of went from there. It's like, you know, in trying to get the specifics of making the arrangements and everything.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'd rather talk about that on the phone. I'll call you in about 15 minutes. So I go, like, I didn't even have breakfast yet, you know? So, like, I go from waking up and being in this group message to, like, 15 minutes later, I'm on the phone with James Ellsworth. And I am comfortable enough in my manhood to say that I was marking out. Like, I was like, I'm talking to James Ellsworth on my phone. It's like, I never want to lose that. I never want to become jaded to working with. I don't be like unprofessional and be like, oh God, like all Chris Farley-ish and like, remember when you wrestled Dean Ambrose?
Yeah,
that was awesome. I don't want to get like that, but it's like I still like being starstruck a little,
Yep.
So, and he was super, super, super cool. A lot of guys will get right down to business and be like, okay, look, this is what I charge and this is what I want, and I need this kind of room on this kind of flight and blah, 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 blah. But he, like, shot the shit with me for, like, a good 10 minutes before we started talking turkey.
Nice.
Yeah, super cool guy.
Every podcast or interview I've heard him on, he seems like he just, hey, man, I'm happy to be here. Like, happy to be in the business and having a good time doing it.
Well, I mean, you couldn't write more of a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
This dude took the ball. He made the very most of an amazing opportunity, and he ran with it further than anybody would have. So I think, most people put in that position, I don't think would even bother fantasizing, like, hey, maybe I'll get a contract out of this. It's more like, hey, I hope I look good on TV.
Yeah.
Or I hope I'm able to charge better prices because I've got a little recognition from this in my indie bookings. Like, I don't think even he, and I'm not speaking on his behalf, but, like, I don't think he even, like, going into this, even fantasized about getting a regular, like, a year contract out of that. So, I mean, but he seized that ball and he ran with it, and the crowd dug him. I dug him. I thought, it's like I was right there with him. So it's like I love it, and I was like, that's why it's so cool to use him.
Yeah.
In the show.
Yeah.
Because it's just like I love his story.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really happy for you and everything that you've so far accomplished and what you're going to keep accomplishing with this. What do you see the future of CSW? We had talked a little bit about some of your plans. You don't have to talk about those, but like, what do you want this to do?
I want to become a regular local institution. I want to be. I mean, obviously, I don't expect to be as influential as this, but like, I want it to be like World Class was in Texas.
Nice.
Like in their section of Texas, like I want it to be a local institution that becomes like kind of hot in its own. Like, I know I'm not even talking in terms of like TV or whatever, but it's just like I want to be a regular local show that people dig and go to and enjoy. Like, I want to have created something that everybody likes and that people keep coming to because it makes them happy. And as corny as that sounds, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand it totally. That's why when I talk to, I talk to Dave or I talk to John or I talk to, Jerry or anybody that I'm friends with or I associate with, I'm always like, man, you can't beat this. And to have it in your own backyard and there's nothing like it. There's just, I don't know. This has revigorated a little bit of my love for the wrestling, so I appreciate it.
Wow. I mean, there's nothing that makes me happier than hearing that.
Yeah.
I mean, as corny as it sounds.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty corny, but yeah.
It's a corny business, man.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But, I don't expect to get rich doing this. So it's just like this year that, like, but like the Constitution State Wrestling might have like gotten you more back into wrestling as a whole.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, man, to me. And so yeah, like if we can get regular shows going, if I can manage to make this, when I say profitable, I don't mean lining my pockets, but like to make it easier to fund the dang thing.
Yeah, make it so it funds itself.
Yes, if I could get that going and keep me like, I want to do like a regular, like maybe. I'd certainly love to do quarterly shows, but hey, maybe like monthly, after a while.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I definitely want to get regular enough to establish champions and to become a real operating company as opposed to an event. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, Dave and John. Now, John, John Ramos, and Dave that does the show, Dave Dawson. We were joking around one day when we first heard you were first putting it on Facebook, and we'd first heard about it, and Dave started talking to me about it. I was like, man, I've always wanted to be a wrestler. Like, you think we could do it? And he's like, I don't know, we should just try. Like, and then John goes, we should do this. We're going to be our gig is going to be, we're going to be the Rain Bros. And I was like, what is that? He's like, we're all going to wear rainbow colored outfits. I was like, I said to him, one, have you looked at me? That's not going to really work. I said, but I'll try it. And he's like, yeah, and you guys are the tag team, and I'm the manager. I was like, John, you're the best looking and the most in shape. You're going to make the two chubby guys get in the ring. How does that work? He's like, that's the beauty of it. I was like, you're losing me. You're losing me. But
look at Paul Ellering.
Yeah. Paul Ellering, he's actually in diesel shape when he takes that massive leather coat off.
Oh, I don't even know what he looks like now, but like even back with the Road Warriors, he looked like he could have been one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was already a big bodybuilding dude when I don't remember what put him out, like a knee injury or something. No, but how old are you guys?
Well, I'm 30. John is Dave and John I think are 31.
All I can say is look at DDP.
Yeah, no, that's he's the one guy when I'm just gonna get really heavy into DDP yoga, lose some weight. I started a new job where I'm sweating a lot more. I was like, so I'll lose some weight quick, and then I have to figure this out. I'm gonna do something because I played football, I wrestled, did Greco-Roman wrestling in high school, and I played semi-pro football after high school, and I got up to 330 pounds and couldn't run, and I was like, I need to do something else. It's too much on my body.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough on your knees when you're that big.
Oh yeah, and you can't run.
Laps and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you love it, man, give it a shot.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing. I'm like, I only live once. Got to give it a shot.
I mean, but keeping that in mind, it is a hell of a lot of hard work.
Oh yeah.
It is and it's a lot of physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
But I came into it from all I did in high school was drama club, man. So I had no athletic background, and I whipped myself. I had some pretty decent cardio. I was in pretty good shape. You get into shape doing squats, man.
Oh yeah.
So, and squats are pretty much the cornerstone of training to wrestle in a way. So if you really have the passion, go for it, man. I mean, the worst that can happen is you find out it's not for you, and you've wasted some dough and you've wasted some time. But I mean, you'll have chased it. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's the one thing my girlfriend tries to push me. She's like, you got to do this, like the podcasting thing. I was like, I've always wanted to do it. I never knew how. And then I ended up meeting Dave, and then that started into the BS Nerds, and we started doing stuff about sports because we like all the same sports teams. But then also one of the weird things was like, you like wrestling? I'm like, yeah, but I've kind of in and out of it, but I do like wrestling. And he goes, who's your favorite? I'm like, Shawn Michaels. He's like, no shit. And I'm like, yeah. So then I don't think it was the first time we went to, I want to say we went to a show recently, might have been 2 years ago now, but we both bought Shawn Michaels shirts and we wore them together. And John goes, what the hell? You guys were wearing matching outfits? I was like, he's got a coat on. It's okay. They won't really notice that we're wearing the same shirt. But if you do, so what? I mean, that's like, why try and be dignified about something as ridiculous as pro wrestling? Yeah, you got to have fun. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, and this is what gets me up about people who take it so dang seriously. It's like, I don't get me wrong. I love the art form. I have the utmost respect for the art form. I busted my ass to master what little of it I could. I appreciate as well as anybody the work it takes to do it. But pro wrestling is inherently stupid.
Yeah, it's
like we take stuff for granted, but it's like, you ever watch wrestling with somebody who's not a fan and you're kind of trying to get them into it?
Yeah, my girlfriend.
Yeah, so it's like, you know how it feels when they're asking those questions, like, so what? Throwing the dude in the ropes, and why doesn't he just stop running?
Yeah.
Because that's just what happens, damn it, you know? We take it, as fans, we take it for granted, but it's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like, that guy just hit a dude with a chair over and over. Why did nobody call the cops? This is supposed to be a sporting event. Fairly recently, hockey players have been arrested for shit they've done on the ice.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
We take it for granted just because in the wrestling, dang it, you deal with it in the ring.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, I don't love it. You know, it's just like, so it's like, and there's nothing wrong with liking it at all. But there is something wrong, I think, with taking it so seriously that you feel it's a good reason to be shitty to somebody else.
Yeah,
to put yourself above others. It's like, I'm going to use a very controversial word here, but it's like when people are snooty about wrestling, it's like, so you're really going to put yourself above this other dude based on the type of fake fighting that you like?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like, to the outside world, you're both, like, to most non-wrestling fans, they think you're dumb for liking it no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, so just like it.
Yeah.
It's like, don't use it as an excuse to shit on somebody else, because your version is just as dumb as their version. It's at the end of the day.
Yeah, no.
And again, I have, and lest this start any drama, again, I have nothing but the utmost of respect for the industry and the people in it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, or you wouldn't be putting on a show.
When I say dumb, I just mean in relative terms.
Yeah, no, it's... You have to have... I think that's like what we were saying earlier, is about... It's like when you were a kid and you didn't know, it's that childlike wonder of just like, oh my... It's like watching them... It's like when the first time you saw Jurassic Park as a kid. And you're like, oh my God. That does something to you that, like, when you get older, that there's very few things that can do that for you. If you can somehow get it through your head that, like, yes, I understand that this is... They're coordinating their moves. It's not so much... It's more of a dance more than I would say fake fighting, because they don't really throw punches anymore. And
oh, sure they do.
They do, but like in WWE, it's very limited. It's not like when they used to go up in the corner and the fans would count to 10 as they're punching them in the head.
No. But like, you know, they're using it as like the whole thing behind the WWE style of wrestling is it's the modern equivalent of your Western, where people are settling their grudge with the showdown at the OK Corral. You know, instead of lethal force with guns, we're going to use this thing that's supposed to be based on wrestling, but you can also kick people. You know,
yeah.
And you can drop them on their neck, but it doesn't kill them for some reason. And, you know, it's just like, I don't even know where I was going at, but...
But, yeah, no, it's if you can somehow take your literal brain and just go, hey, man, I'm here to have fun. And they're going to entertain me. It's like when people say, hey, you watch this episode, did you watch that? Like, when I have said this to somebody when they started to be like, you still watch that? And I'm like, you watch Game of Thrones. You really think that there's a fucking dragon flying in and burning everyone? To tell me that I can't pick, like, a guy that actually did jump off the top of a cage onto another person, oh, that's not real. Somebody still had to do that. Like, it's not digital, and it's not done by a computer. This
right.
is there is some actual athleticism, some trust between the two individuals. Whether they like each other or not, they have to trust each other to not drop the other one on their head, as you said. You know.
Well, the thing is, when you're using that argument, you got to be careful, because to somebody who doesn't like wrestling, they already think it's quote unquote dumb and quote unquote fake, right?
Yep.
So if you play up how dangerous it is, they're like, okay, so they're risking their lives for this stupid fake thing. You know what I mean? They're still not gonna like it, and they're gonna like it even less if you really play up how dangerous it actually is. So it's just like there was a What Culture video that was like a top 10 list of I want to say it was just like things not to say to for wrestling fans, not to say to non-wrestling fans.
Okay.
And like one of them was like, number 3 was like, don't show your favorite match to somebody who's not into wrestling, hoping that they'll like wrestling. It will break your heart.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He put it, and it's just like, and it's true. It's like if they think it's stupid, they think it's stupid. And if you play up how dangerous it is, they just think it's even more dumb. So it's like you can't win. So it's like talking to somebody like you can Kiss. You know, they get it or they don't. Kiss, I love Kiss. Kiss is kind of dumb too, but I love them. You know, it's just like, and I'm okay with liking dumb old Kiss in a completely non-ironic way, and just liking it for what it is, not putting a snarky angle on it, and just like, you know what, that's a big dude in dragon boots drooling blood all over the place and breathing fire, and that's cool to me. And same with wrestling.
Yeah, well, it's like me trying to explain to my girlfriend why I want to go see a Guar show. And she's just like, why would you? And then I'm explaining, like, hey, yeah, no, like they cut the head off of Paris Hilton, and when her head pops off, they squirt the crowd with fake blood. And then at the end of the night, when you go home and you look at yourself in the mirror, you look like a tie-dye shirt. And I always wear a white shirt so I can see like what. And she's just like, why? And I'm like, because it's fun. I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't think it's for everyone, but I get an enjoyment out of it. I get it. It's not for everyone.
I went through this with my girlfriend, and because I used to be a gigantic Guar fan too, and she didn't get on board until she realized it was satire. If you just say, yeah, they cut off Paris Hilton's head and there's blood all over the place and it's cool, but like they're not gonna, the non-fan, it's not gonna register.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, that just sounds gross and misogynistic, somebody will probably say, or whatever. And it's just like, but there's a tongue-in-cheek aspect to it is what makes it, what gives it its oomph.
Yeah.
And what makes it so damn appealing and fun. Like, that's why, like, you know, I'm a metal dude, but, like, I never got into, like, Slayer, you know, because, like, I'm not that pissed off. You know, but it's just like,
I like Slayer.
well, you know,
But I understand what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. And I'm the same way. Like, my girlfriend, she hears me put on that music and she's just like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's the same it's the same reason why every time Def Leppard comes on, I always say to her, what has 7 arms and 8 legs? And she goes, I'm not answering that. And I'm like, because you know the answer, or you don't want to say the answer? She's like, all of the above. I know the answer, and I'm sad that I do know the answer. And I'm like, it's Def Leppard. And then just, like, walk away. But, like, I love...
See, the version I heard was what has... I don't know how many members there are, 5. So, like, what has 9 arms and sucks?
Yeah.
That's the version I always heard. So. Not that I think they suck, mind you, but I was never a fan either. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No. I just... That's how I view it. It's my girlfriend. Like, I can literally go Guar one night at Toad's place. Like, I saw them at Toad's. And, like, a month later, my girlfriend goes sees Tegan and Sarah, which is these gay twin sisters that sing, and I don't get what the fuck they do, but I get why
Does your girlfriend hang out at Starbucks?
She does like Starbucks. She doesn't hang out there, but she likes it.
I asked because I first became aware of Tegan and Sarah because of a fellow barista when I worked at Starbucks.
Oh boy.
So, just had to ask. Not an implied judgment to any of you Starbuckians out there, because I've probably waited on enough of you who might be listening.
Yeah, I can't pay that much money for coffee.
The coffee is not expensive. Like,
no.
If you want a latte,
yeah.
I mean, that's a crafted drink. They have to steam the milk and do everything a certain way. So, like, that takes work. So, like, here I am defending this company that needs their defense.
No. I get why the employees are working hard. I just don't like spending that much money on a coffee. That's all.
I necessarily like, I guess it's like a cup of coffee there costs the same as a cup of coffee pretty much anywhere these days.
Yeah.
I mean, like, unless it's McDonald's and they're doing the 99-cent thing. But it's just like the coffee is just, fairly standard pricing. It's the frou-frou drinks that are more expensive because they are labor intensive.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, like, if you want a cup of coffee and like there's only a Starbucks in the area, go ahead and go to Starbucks and get the coffee because it's not that expensive for a plain old coffee. Is I guess all I'm saying. Again, not that they need my defense from me, but they're doing fine without Nat Peterson of Groton, Connecticut, sticking up for him. But I guess having worked there long enough, I still have that. It always grates me when people go, "Oh, the coffee is so expensive." Like, no, it's not.
I'm that guy. I'm not gonna lie. I do that.
Most people are.
I am that guy. She does like lattes and stuff, so I'm sure that's why I kind of give her the most jazz, is because that probably costs the most.
Well, and the thing is, look at it this way: a latte is pretty much it's like a warm.
It's a warm what?
Sundae. Ice cream sundae.
Oh, okay. Warm ice cream sundae.
It's a treat. It's not just something to drink.
Okay.
So it's like that kind of thing. So it's like, how much would you pay for a sundae? Probably about $4, right? So
yeah.
It's that kind of treat, an indulgence. It's not just like a $4 or $5 cup of coffee.
Nice. Well.
So.
Not
that they need my.
Yeah, not that they need your help or that we're off talking about coffee.
You can edit this stuff.
No, it's okay. No, I like to leave it in because it makes me laugh, and I hope it gets a pop out of other people. No, just because I go on rants when I'm talking to Jerry, and I'll start talking about a movie and talk about this person being in this movie. Like, I catch shit for liking, like, Clueless, and he'll be like, how do you... And I'm like, I get it. It's not for everyone, but I also like the fact that Paul Rudd's in it, and I start naming other people that are in the movie, and he's like, wow, I didn't remember that. I'm like, yeah, now those people are really big, like, known actors and actresses. I don't want to...
So he says remember that, so he's seen it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I would have been like, well, get out your high horse, because you obviously seen it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
But, Nat, I appreciate this. I know you're a busy man. I know you got stuff to do. I appreciate you coming on, and whatever you want to say about the show, please plug right now.
Constitution State Wrestling is coming to Groton, Connecticut at Grasso Tech on June 30th.
Doors open at what, 7 a.m.?
Doors
7
open
p.m.
At 7 p.m.
Sorry.
Well, no. Ring time is 7 p.m. Doors open at 6:30.
Okay.
Tickets are available at... Let me pull this up real quick. I don't want to trip over my tongue and say it wrong, because it's one of those URLs that does not have... So it is csw3.brownpapertickets.com. No www. So again, enter it into your browser as csw3.brownpapertickets, one word, .com. The ticket prices are $12 for general admission, $17 for ringside. Of course, we've got James Ellsworth, we've got Gangrel, and we have got what I think is going to be the sleeper match of the show. It is going to be JT Dunn versus Matt Cross, known to Lucha Underground fans as Son of Havoc. Fantastic wrestler. I guess that's all I have to say. Facebook.com/Constitution State Wrestling, one word. And I want to thank you very much, Aaron, for the opportunity to talk about the show and for indulging me on my multiple tangents. No,
it's awesome, man. Like, I do the same thing, so I genuinely enjoy that somebody can go on a tangent like that and just keep going and going and going, and I really enjoy that. This was awesome. Thank you so much, Nat. Once again, like I said, thank you very much for doing the show. I know every time you've done the show, we always try to come up and thank you for just you doing all this work to just bring us, lack of a better word, bring us joy and fun, to just into our backyards, essentially.
Well, I appreciate that. And I got to be really obnoxious here. There's one more thing I did want to say.
Go ahead.
Is that we are doing those. We're doing a 50-50 raffle and raffling off prizes to benefit Grasso Tech's Student Assistance Fund.
Awesome.
So if anybody's on the fence about going to the show, I would like to add there's a great chance to help out the school.
Cool. Yeah, no, we always
on that, but
no, it's okay. We always end up I think I won a what was it? I won a bobblehead last year, the last show. I bought what was it? I want to say it was Gracie there, Hoist Gracie bobblehead.
Oh yes.
And I gave it to my co-host of BS Nerds, Joe. I gave it to him for Christmas.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
worked out. But thank you again. So awesome. I can't wait. I'm going to be there cheering, booing, and I even have a special gift for an individual that's going to be on the show. So I'm excited. This is going to be an awesome day, night, everything. I'm going to be pumped for weeks after it.
Awesome. All
right,
you're excited to be here. And I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, man.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.